Ever notice how some people will do anything to avoid a phone call? You text them, they reply instantly. But call them, suddenly they're MIA. Meanwhile, others want to hear your voice for everything, even just to say, I'm 5 minutes away. So what's the psychology behind this? Why do some people feel more comfortable typing words than speaking them? And what does your preference actually reveal about how your brain works? Stick around because what you discover might explain why you've been avoiding someone's call right now. Let's start with something most people don't realize. Texting isn't just convenient. For some, it's emotionally safer. When you're on a phone call, everything happens in real time. Your words, your tone, your pauses, all of it is immediate. There's no delete button, no time to think. You have to respond as thoughts form, and for people who process emotions deeply, that pressure feels overwhelming. But texting? Texting gives you control. You can read the message, sit with it, think about your response, rewrite it 3 times, and then finally send it when it feels right. That's not laziness, that's emotional management. Psychologically, people who prefer texting often have something called high cognitive load sensitivity. Their brains work hard to process information, tone, and emotion all at once. A phone call throws all of that at them simultaneously. The other person's mood, the silence between words, the expectation to fill gaps in conversation. It's like juggling while someone's asking you math questions. Texting removes that chaos. It lets them focus on the message without drowning in the delivery. But here's where it gets deeper. People who prefer texting are often highly introspective. They think before they speak, sometimes too much. In a live conversation, that delay can feel awkward. They pause to choose the right words and the other person assumes they're confused or uninterested. But in a text, that same pause is invisible. They can take all the time they need and no one judges the gap. That's why for them, texting doesn't feel distant. It feels honest, because they're giving you the truest version of their thoughts, not the rushed, half-formed version a phone call would force out of them. Then there's the overstimulation factor. Phone calls aren't just about words. They come with sound, interruption, and unpredictability. You don't know how long it'll last. You don't know if the person will ramble or if you'll have to navigate an awkward silence. For people with sensory sensitivity or social anxiety, that unpredictability is exhausting. Texting is structured. You say something, they respond. There's rhythm. There's space. You're not trapped in real-time pressure. And let's talk about something most people overlook. Texting creates emotional distance, but not in a bad way. It gives people room to breathe. When you're texting, you're not performing. You're not managing facial expressions or vocal tone. You're just you and your words. For introverts or highly self-aware people, that distance isn't coldness. It's comfort. They can be vulnerable without feeling exposed. They can say, I'm struggling, without hearing their own voice crack. Sometimes the most honest conversations happen through a screen because the screen removes the fear of being seen while breaking. But here's the interesting flip side. Some people hate texting because it feels incomplete. They need tone to understand meaning. They need to hear hesitation or excitement or sarcasm in someone's voice. For them, text feels flat, like reading music without hearing it. But people who prefer texting don't experience it that way. They read emotion between the words. They notice the pause before a reply. They sense mood through punctuation. A period feels different than an exclamation mark. Okay feels different than okay. They're not missing emotion. They're reading it differently. Science backs this up too. Studies show that people who prefer texting often have higher written verbal intelligence. They think in sentences. They process language visually. Their brain lights up more when reading than when listening. So for them, texting isn't a compromise. It's their natural mode of communication. It's like asking a musician to describe a song in words instead of playing it. It just doesn't translate the same way. There's also a control element. When you're texting, you control the flow. You can step away if you need to. You can end the conversation when you're drained. You don't have to fake energy or enthusiasm when you don't have it. Phone calls demand presence, even when you have nothing left to give. But a text can wait. It respects boundaries without needing explanation. And for people who value their emotional energy, that respect feels like kindness. Now, does this mean people who prefer texting are avoiding connection? Not at all. In fact, many of them connect more deeply through text than others do through calls. Because when they text, they're intentional. They think about what they're saying. They choose words carefully. They give you their full attention in writing, even if they can't give it in voice. That's not distance, that's presence in a different form. But here's something you should know. Preferring texting doesn't mean hating people. It means protecting your peace. It means choosing communication that doesn't drain you. It means valuing clarity over speed. And in a world that glorifies constant availability, choosing texting is actually an act of self-awareness. You're saying, I'll show up, but in the way that lets me show up fully. So next time someone says, why don't you just call? Or texting feels so impersonal, remember this. Connection isn't measured by volume. It's measured by presence. Some people are loudest in silence. Some people love deepest through words on a screen. And that's not a flaw. That's just how their heart learned to speak. Are you someone who prefers texting or talking? Let me know in the comments. I want to see how many of us communicate better in writing. If this video made you think differently, hit subscribe. We explore psychology that actually explains you. And don't forget to like the video. It helps more people discover content like this.